Hello everyone. Today I would like to speak about the very important transit of the South Node moving into Scorpio. Now, I am a little late to the game here. The transiting South Node has been in the sign of Scorpio since January of this year, 2022. But I thought it's very important to make this public service announcement regarding the South Node in Scorpio. So let's talk really quickly about what the South Node is. So the North Node of the Moon and the South Node of the Moon, also known as Rahu and Ketu, it's actually not a planet or an asteroid, it's a mathematical point in the sky. So I've got my little Dollar Tree whiteboard here. So if this, let's say this is the sun's ecliptic, okay? And this is the moon's ecliptic, where the sun's ecliptic and the moon's ecliptic crosses on the north side. That is known as the north node of the moon, or Rahu. Where the sun's ecliptic crosses the moon's ecliptic on the south side, that is known as the south node of the moon, or Ketu. The things that the nodes represent are what we are moving towards, the north node, and what we are moving away from, the south node. So whenever we have the transiting north node going into a certain sign, it means we are meant to develop the positive characteristics of that sign. Whenever we have the south node moving into a certain sign, it means we are meant to let go of the negative qualities of that sign. The transit south node will remain in Scorpio until July 2023. The consequences for not respecting life, death, and sex are about to get way more intense. Scorpio is the sign of death, sex, and it's a very emotionally intense sign. Things to avoid during this time are fuckboy bullshit, also known as lying or misleading in order to obtain sexual consent, raping, sexual molestation, or abuse of any kind, not performing a proper funeral, disrespecting the dead, eating meat from factory farms, and I'll explain why. This is not respecting life, because factory farms do not respect life. They treat life as product, as material for profit, and they are not respecting life. Another thing to avoid, not burying the dead. Even a small creature such as a mouse or a squirrel or a bird, you need to respect that life and always bury the dead. Always bury the dead. I would also avoid having casual sex at this time with people who you really don't care about. I'm not trying to shame anyone's sexuality. I'm just saying now is not necessarily the best time for that. If you engage in this kind of sexual interaction, I think you're going to find that you are much less satisfied, much less fulfilled by the experience than perhaps you were in the past. Whereas in the past you might have really enjoyed it, you might find that you are enjoying it much less during this time, and that's because the universe is trying to move you away from that direction. We need to evolve as a species and evolve to honor the sacredness of sexuality and the sacredness of life itself, and death as well. This is a sacred cycle. Life, sexuality, and death. The sacredness of that cycle is not being respected, and that's what we need to leave behind as a species. As a side note, I think it's very interesting that the abortion controversy is sort of coming to a head at this time. I'm not going to make a political statement on that matter. Just as a side note, it is very interesting and it's very on theme that these themes of abortion are coming up at this time when the South Node is transiting Scorpio. So the South Node is all about what we are leaving behind, what we are moving away from, not what we are abandoning, because it's never about abandoning something. It's just what we need to focus less on in order to balance ourselves. So the South Node going into Scorpio just means we need to focus less on that area in order to balance ourselves. Also, Scorpio as an energy by itself talks about leaving things behind, elimination. In medical astrology, Scorpio governs the genitals and the anus. So it's about how we eliminate things, how we let go of things that we no longer need. So things that I would do, that I recommend doing during this time, are educating yourself on sacred sexuality, educate yourself about sexual consent, educate yourself about Tantra or any of the sexual arts, set up an ancestor altar in your home, visit a grave site or do something in honor of a loved one that has passed on. With the North Node now in Taurus, it's a great time to plant a garden or do anything for nature that honors the earth. Maybe start a composting system if you don't already have one in place. So, like I said, the consequences for not honoring life, sex, death, and the sacredness of that cycle. The consequences were already very intense for that, but they are about to get more intense. Scorpio is the most intense sign. So, some potential consequences of not honoring life, sex, death, and the sacredness of that cycle is unwanted pregnancy, a sexually transmitted infection, bad luck, drama, trauma, jail time, spiritual and financial debt, just to name a few. Intense consequences. The goddess has had enough of this bullshit. The disrespect ends today. Do not dismiss this message. If you already respect and honor life, sexuality, and death, awesome. Please continue. However, if you have not been respecting and honoring life, sexuality, death, and the sacredness of that cycle, you are going to start paying the price for that and experiencing the consequences for that, even more intense than before. The disrespect is not going to continue. I said what I said.